It was on this day 54 years ago, a prototype of the Concorde airliner sped through the skies at about 1,300 miles per hour. That broke the sound barrier. A Mach 1 milestone that meant supersonic passenger travel was indeed viable. The allure for passengers was clear. You fly from London to New York in less than 3 hours, around 2/3 shorter than the transatlantic flights of the day. But convenience often comes with cost. A one-way ticket would set you back as much as $10,000 in inflation-adjusted currency, and the plane, as sleek as it looked, it was a gas guzzler. It needed as much as 7 times the amount of fuel per passenger mile relative to modern jetliners. Now, the official unveiling of the Concorde at the Paris Air Show back in 1973 was expected to generate at least 200 orders. Only about 100 were placed, with most of those canceled after the Yom Kippur War spurred OPEC oil embargoes that led to unprecedented fuel costs. You combine that with the noise restrictions on supersonic travel over land, and the viability of the Concorde was now not really a viable option at all for almost all airline routes. And that brings us to my question of the day. While the makers of the Concorde did anticipate selling as many as 500 of the jets, all told, just 20 were ever built. And only 14 of those 20s were ever actually used for regular commercial service, and that was just by 2 airlines, British Airways and Air France, and they were the flagship carriers for the 2 countries that funded the project. Now, a fatal crash in the summer of 2000 was the final blow, and by the end of 2003, the only way to sit on the Concorde was at a museum, giving the Concorde the dubious distinction of being one of the biggest achievements in aviation history, as well as one of the biggest flops. But there are renewed efforts out there to revive supersonic travel. Just this month, Boom Technology, founded by a pilot and former Amazon software engineer, said it's adamant that it can develop a new generation of high-speed jets. You're looking at the latest test flight there. But it's going to be a tough road. A startup backed by billionaire Robert Bass abandoned plans for its own supersonic business jet in 2021, largely because of the lack of funding. Environmental and noise limit standards have only gotten stricter since the 1970s, and Boom Technology has said it will use sustainable aircraft fuel. Yeah, that's admirable, but it's also a lot more expensive and scarcer. And this doesn't even address the upfront capital expenditures needed. The original British-French Concorde project cost the modern-day equivalent of about $8 billion. Still, the allure of supersonic travel is a grand idea that won't go away. The appeal is certainly there, but the economics of it still needs to catch up.